Okay, let's see what Board Gamers got for us. Apparently, they released the 4.0 changes on the roadmap recently. I want to hear a Board Gamer talk about it because I have not gotten to see the updates on 4.0.
Hello and welcome to some more
roadmap.
Star Citizen with something quite exciting for you. I woke up to a Star Citizen Alpha 4.0 roadmap. Cloud and Pyram have now shared their plans and goals for Star Citizen Alpha 4.0, which is planned to be released by the end of Q3 this year, 2024. So that would be roughly end of September. Often this gets pushed to around CitizenCon time in October for a release, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, please bear in mind, the features we're about to talk about are the initial goals. There's going to be more features added to this 4.0 build for sure, and some of these might not make the initial 4.0 launch, but the goal and target is that they will. We've got static server meshing. Server meshing version 1 is actually what they say. This enables multiple servers per shard to improve load distribution and facilitates navigation between two solar systems, Pyro and Stand.
This is going to be big. It's going to be sloppy, but it's going to be big. That's what she said. Sorry, I felt like I had to say that there.
Load distribution and facilitates navigation between two solar systems, Pyro and Stanton. So this will basically have them going, we're going to divide the Stanton system into 5 or so servers, and you seamlessly move between them on a single shard, and they will also have Pyro, 5 or so servers, and all of those servers can seamlessly hand off authority between each other. And effectively, when you log into the game, you'll log into a different shard. No, we don't have shard affinity, I don't believe, in 4.0, so we can't necessarily choose what shard we're on. We'll still be able to join friends, though. Persistence changes will affect the shard you're on, not all shards, so bear that in mind for the most part anyway. There's stuff with base building and that sort of stuff that will come later. Jump points. So these are going to be connecting the Stanton and Pyro systems together. This includes the necessary vehicle items and functionality, and the jump points themselves, as well as their inner tunnels. During some of the server meshing tests, I actually tried that out. It was very untextured and all that sort of jazz. But yeah, that was a very functional mechanic that they had. Wasn't any sort of gameplay to it other than waiting in queue to go through the jump point and then going when it was your turn. There's a mission and transit system refactor to make this compatible with server meshing, allowing for easy creation and maintenance of mission content and the transit system, making them more robust as systems, that sort of jazz. Pyro space stations, various rundown space stations and stops around the Pyro system with services like repair, sustenance, commerce. Also, there's going to be different factions on board these, different missions and that sort of stuff for them as well. Colonialism outposts, a small home for AI to live and shelter in. They consist of a central hub and a few optional internal and external modules on planets. They provide the basic necessities to support a small group of people for an indefinite amount of time. There was obviously going to be missions and stuff associated with these areas as well. Solar burst, dangerous natural disasters that happen regularly around older stars like Pyro. In these instances, the sun erupts with a high energy particle wave generated from its surface, traveling at 15% the speed of light through the entire star system. This dangerous high energy particle wave can be avoided by hiding behind other objects that are big enough, but it does horrible things to your ship and to your fragile human flesh body. Life support systems. These are ship components that generate breathable gas when turned on, and management of those life support components within the ship loadout manager is also part of that. Life support systems will sort of manage the maximum size of a crew or people that you could have on board a ship without causing issues, because you're not going to be able to create enough oxygen. Engineering gameplay, allowing players,
which is going to be a game changer in the fact that many people cram onto one ship at one time. We all know this. We play the game. We know we cram as many people as we can. But then when we get these life support systems in the game, truly those numbers that you see when you see the details in the breakouts on ships where it says manned by 3 maximum, the life support systems will make it so that there can be 3, like, and no more. So that's a very interesting little add-in that's going to hit that a lot of people are going to be like, what? You'll see a lot of crying.
Players to manage, maintain, and repair various ship systems. Players can assume different roles that each provide a unique gameplay.
And personally, I love that. As a tactician, I personally love that, because then I know truly that, like, this ship can only hold 3 people. This ship can only hold 5 people. I need to know these things when I'm planning something for my organization. You know, I don't want to, like, know that the Cuddy's got like 50 fucking people inside of the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I'm planning something as a tactician, as a leader for my organization, I want to know, like, what am I looking at? What you know, if, especially on a ground operation, like, how many people are going to be out here? And the ships will always tell me. Not always. There's going to be surprise moments, especially when we get land ownership. That's going to be a wild card for the mix, right? That's going to be fun. I can't wait till that hits. That's going to be a whole game changer in itself. But yeah, I think that's something to be said about the life support systems on ships only handling a certain amount. That cramming meta is going to be over. Yeah. And then O2 is going to go up. When the economy gets implemented the way that it needs to be, we need Tony Z. Where are you? But when it's a more player-driven economy, or when Quanta takes place in server meshing, what we just saw here, V1, server meshing, right? I think what we're going to see is it's going to be messy. It's going to come out. We're going to have hiccups. But as it evolves into next year, into 2025, and meshing starts to get nailed down a little bit more, that's when you're going to start seeing implementations of the economy hit. You're going to see the Quanta hit the way that it needs to. The life support systems on ships will get rid of the cramming meta, but it will also do one other thing in 2025, which people aren't counting on or aren't even thinking about, which will raise prices once we get that dynamic kind of pricing system, right? It will raise prices on O2 pens, right? It'll raise oxygen will be more valuable.
Loop with engineering gameplay, players have to contend with item degradation, malfunctions, power management. We know that there's going to be fuses, power relays, you're going to be switching in and out components. Physical components is very much part of that as well, but also our fires, and the fire hazard system is in, which tracks fire and temperature on static and dynamic objects. For the initial release, fire will be set up on a few select vehicles. This will also include working fire extinguishers though. Charge and drain,
yes,
adding the ability for players to drain, store, and charge objects with power using the multi-tool. This includes the ability to overcharge objects and also remove distortion damage. Multi-tool updates, raising the multi-tool up to the standard from Squadron 42 with additional functionality like cutting for specific scenarios, repair, and updates like improved handling, integrated UI, and the use of batteries to operate it. There's an MFD multifunction display rework and new displays. This rebuilds the ship's MFDs with building blocks, including new design functionality and customization options. This update also includes a select number of updated ship HUDs, giving greater visibility, as well as a manufacturer-based visual overhaul. The Quasi-Grazer. This is an animal. He's large, warm-blooded, a herd animal. It was originally discovered on the vast plains of Quasi on Terra, most notable for their unusual method of carrying their eggs on their underside.
Aha! See, I was talking about this last week. Who was I talking to last week that said, hey, they're udders. Is Aether here? Where's Aether at? I told you there were eggs, Aether. Where are you at, Aether? Aether was telling me last week, like, those aren't eggs, DG, those are udders. And I was like, I think that they're eggs, if I remember correctly. And take that, Aether. Take that, Dr. Aether. Take that. I love you, Aether. I love you, bro.
The Quasi-Grazer has become one of the standard seed animals that can be commonly found on most terraformed planets in the UEE.
We're going to see more animals come into the game as well. Again, with all these object containers in here, it's still very messy. You know, I've been playing 323 off and on for the past week and a half. It's still a jumbly mess, but I'm enjoying it still. I've always enjoyed it. I've been playing Star Citizen for 10 plus years, you know, so I expected this. I've seen the newer things and I'm having a good time with the game, and it's still, you know, buggy, and that's just the way kind of it's been. But I think all the additional object containers are kind of making a little bit of havoc right now in 323. Personally, my experience has been not the best. It's been pretty shaky at best. So, you know, adding new animals, again, more object containers, again, really looking forward to server meshing V1. Just, I think it's got to come out this year. We got to get if V1 gets pushed back, server meshing V1 getting pushed back 2025, I'm going to kind of get upset. I will. You'll see an upset DG. For the first time in a long time with Star Citizen, you're going to see an upset DG. I'm kind of upset a little bit going into the back half of 24. I'm kind of upset, which is it's interesting that I'm getting a little bit more upset as time progresses towards the end of the year. And I'm just trying to take a breath. I'm just trying to take a breath and be rational and be an adult here.
There's additional player customization with more hair and facial hair options, as well as face piercings. And you've got the RSI Zeus Mark II ES. So this is the Explorer variant of that Zeus Mark II series. No word on the other variants yet, though. And no words on any more ships and vehicles coming with 4.0 yet, but expect a reasonable amount. But what is Pyro without planets and moons? And there are a lot of them planned for the initial release of 4.0. Pyro 1. It's the closest planet to the sun in the Pyro system. It's got thick, high-pressure atmosphere, and it hides a strange landscape beset by powerful winds and lightning strikes. Under the clouds, there is an ecosystem of plants and animals that endure its extremely high temperatures, even during powerful stellar flares. Pyro 2, known as Monox. It's named Monox because of its deadly carbon monoxide atmosphere. It has a temperate climate and was seen as a viable candidate for terraforming shortly after its discovery. However, its proximity to the system's volatile sun made it dangerous for human habitation, and the United Nations of Earth
we have that to look forward to
clear it for terraforming, instead of allowing corporations to harvest its natural resources. Undeterred by its potential risk, outlaws eventually took up residence on the planet when the last corporations pulled out of Pyro in the 26th century. Pyro 3, otherwise known as Bloom. Cold but naturally habitable, it became the epicenter of mining endeavors in Pyro. Pyrotechnic Amalgamated and other corporations constructed multiple staging areas, employee barracks, and processing centers that were in use until the cost of their maintenance could no longer be offset by mining profits. Abandoned when the last active corporations in Pyro ceased operations there in the late 26th century, they were claimed by squatters, outlaws, and former miners who lacked the means to return to the United Empire of Earth. Pyro 4 is now the outermost moon of Pyro 5, and astronomers theorized that it was once the fourth planet from the sun of the Pyro system. At some point before humans discovered Pyro, a massive celestial body collided with Pyro 4, catastrophically warping its landscape, destroying its atmosphere, and knocking it into the orbit of a nearby gas giant, Pyro 5. Although the tectonic activity that resulted from this impact has quieted and a new atmosphere has formed, Pyro 4 is far from stable. It is on a long, slow collision course with Pyro 5 and will one day either crash into it or break up into a ring. Pyro 5, oddly, the fourth planet from the sun in the Pyro system, technically. It was given the classification of Pyro 5 when researchers realized that its moon was actually technically Pyro 4. Pyro 5 is a gas giant, and residents and travelers through the Pyro system are known to harvest the hydrogen from Pyro 5's green and yellow atmosphere. Pyro 6, otherwise known as Terminus, is the outermost world of the Pyro system. Its nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere is technically breathable, but contains high enough amounts of methane and carbon dioxide that it has a negative effect on one's health after extended exposure. Pyrotechnic Amalgamated placed their main hub of operations in orbit around Terminus, later abandoning the station when they left the system. This is known as Ruin Station. However,
Terminus is like a giant party balloon. You're just laughing all the time you're there, dude. Just have a really good time there. Lots of brain damage in your future on Terminus.
It doesn't appear that Ruin Station is part of the initial 4.0 release yet. It is very likely impossible that will be coming just a bit after 4.0's release, but we'll have to wait and see. Pyro 5 as well has an additional 6 moons: Ignis, Vatra, Adir, Pharaoh, Fugo, and Ver, or Ver. Ignis is the innermost moon of Pyro 5. The multiple canyons and dry riverbeds on its surface suggest that liquid water once flowed there in the distant past. It's got a frigid temperature and deadly atmosphere of sulfur dioxide. There is a small amount of oxygen in the atmosphere that people use to resupply their air reserves with. You've got Vatra as well, the second moon. Its thick, high-pressure atmosphere of nitrogen and methane support an ecosystem of plants that subsist on hydrocarbons instead of carbon dioxide. There is some water present as well in the form of ice. Adir, the third moon, jagged mountains and rocky hills dominate its crater-ridden landscape. Doesn't have much in the way of an atmosphere, so lots of stuff just collides with the moon. Furrow, the fourth moon, a hotbed of seismic activity. It experiences frequent earthquakes that disturb its deep oceans of brackish water. It has a thriving ecosystem both on the surface and under the sea, as well, supported by its dense atmosphere.
Lots of places to
Fugo,
go.
It's the fifth moon, relatively
there's going to be a lot of places to go. A lot of new collectibles. A lot of they're going to seed this with more things, more animals, more. All dependent upon server meshing being implemented correctly and how smooth that's going to go. Not so smooth. What I would like to see and what I believe will happen, this is a prediction. I hate making predictions, but I've been in this long enough to kind of get the vibe, is we're going to see a messy implementation of server meshing. It's going to be late. It's going to be post CitizenCon. Okay, it's going to be messy through to 2025. And by this time next year, they'll have it smoothed out to the point where once they get that in, you're going to see accelerated timescales on the economy, and Quanta will be back in play. You're going to see more object containers. You're going to see persistence finally be where we want it to be. And you're going to see an introduction of systems hit real hard. So that's what I'm sometime May 2025, May to July of 2025. I'm hoping, okay, there's a lot of hopium in this opinion of mine here, but there will be a more stable mesh, okay, and you'll start to see things coming online and progressing at an accelerated rate. So that's what I'm predicting. I'm probably going to be actually pretty close because I'm normally pretty close on my predictions.
But still cold. It has a mostly carbon dioxide atmosphere with small percentages of nitrogen, sulfur dioxide, and oxygen. High amounts of iron sulfide in its soil give it a yellowish, blackish appearance. The sixth moon. It has increased greenhouse gas effect going on, so it's got dense carbon dioxide atmosphere. It's unusually warm for a moon that's so distant from the sun. Its carbon-rich soil supports forms of vegetation that utilize crystalline carbon in their base structures. It's going to be a farming place. You're going to be able to farm here, it sounds like. Well, that's it for what the roadmap showed. We are hoping that Clan Imperium are able to get things like the Pyro Crab that's supposed to be on Pyro 2, I believe. Loads more ships and vehicles, loads more of those gangs of Pyro in there, and lots of new types of mission and minables, potentially base building and crafting, loads and loads of stuff that could make it into that 4.0 patch. Let
me reiterate this for Stunner. I'm not taking that bet. What I'm reiterating is server meshing will be ugly. The initiation of it being the implementation of server meshing is going to be ugly. There's going to be problems. That's what I'm thinking. Sometime from now to this time next year, they're going to be able to smooth things out. You're going to see persistence hit the way you want it, and then you're going to see a boom of systems come online. Animals, Quanta. You're going to see all the things that we've wanted for the longest time start hitting. But it's going to take some time, dude. It's going to be ugly. It's going to come out so ugly, they're going to want to put it right back in. It's going to come out all ugly, like, oh my God, that's not my baby. Put it back, put it back. that's
looking forward to. I'm really hyped about, and obviously some of it will start to appear a bit later on. Will CIG be able to make end of Q3, end of September live release of this? Hopefully it will be the biggest and most important patch of Star Citizen so far because of server meshing, because of that additional star system, because of all that additional game space and all that important tech. Lots of people are worried about a 3.18 situation, but they've tested server meshing a few times externally even, and it seems to work. They've been improving and ironing that out, and there's going to be loads more tests before 4.0 goes live. But I'm really interested to know what other features you think may be added to 4.0. What are you hoping to see? When do you think it's actually going to be released? What ships and vehicles do you expect to turn up? You're like, yeah, the Apollo's going to turn up, and the Legionnaire. Is there anything from that list that you're like, oh, there's no way it will turn up? And things like Ruin Station, do you think that's coming in the initial 4.0 build, or actually as a hero location there, it's probably going to take a little bit longer for them to get that fully done? Whatever your thoughts or questions, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. And I would love for you to go to NordVPN.
Listen, good on board gamer. Good on board gamer. We'll stop it there. And if you want to go over there, if you're not subscribed, if you don't know who he is, you've been living under a rock. He's one of the largest Star Citizen content creators there. He does a lot of news-oriented things, just very factual, very news-oriented. He does a lot of gameplay, too, that I noticed that I was digging on. So, and he's a buddy. He actually sent over a raid the other week and thanked him for it on Twitter. It's X. I got to get used to it. I'm still calling it Twitter these days. Goddamn. But, yeah. So there he is, man. I dig it, and I think pretty good talks. Watching that, pretty good talk.